but to follow what Matt said and to go back to in Mid-Island, what the private money's done, what you see in front of Dan's, in front of Cape Cod 5, in front of Stop Shop, we need to finish some of this stuff, possibly with private capital, our money, tax
Public
money.
money, yeah.
There are other projects that are going to happen. And as a planning department and planning board, what do we do? I mean, do we say, okay, we need to fix this ourselves, and then here comes a big project that could have paid for, say, $150,000 worth of this sidewalk, but we didn't wait. I think we should wait a little bit longer to get Pleasant Street fixed with private money. Something's going to happen at the Craig property. Okay? Something.
For those, why don't you say what the Craig property?
The land in between the Boys and Girls Club and Sea Grill. There's something's going to happen there. There's about $175,000 sort of sitting there when something happens for Pleasant Street. So right now we're improving Sparks Ave sidewalk, which is really I guess I would call it a bike path from the past. It's just going to get improved and widened. A lot of the soil has gone over the pavement. So there's some things that are going to get done that are going to help this, but it's going to be slow to stitch these things together. I don't see the Mid-Island as a problem like I see downtown. Downtown, I think, is actually fine the way it is, because by getting rid of parking requirements under zoning for major commercial developments, we actually enhance business, because to change the use of a business downtown, you had to provide parking. Where are you going to provide it? So what it was doing, it was capping a project. It was creating a project to actually not be able to come forward because they would have had to have a parking waiver. I mean, the town building doesn't have parking, so why should anyone else? That's how I kind of see it. So downtown is a completely different animal than the Mid-Island. The Mid-Island is going to have parking in different areas that you see now, the commons, the banks, especially behind the chicken box. There's going to be parking. Something's going to happen to the fire station land. There's going to be more parking. It sort of shifts around with businesses opening and closing. Stop and Shop is the biggest parking provider. Everybody parks there. No one's going to get a ticket.
Well,
so
the Mid-Island has a lot of opportunity because it's not built out. I mean, it's an area that we can really create a vision and keep improving and keep making it better. I mean, downtown is already built.
Yeah.
There's very little room.
And presumably the paid lot at the electric company property has helped a little bit with the issue downtown. I mean,
I'd say a little bit.
That's an 8-week thing.
Yeah. Oh, sure it is, but you were talking about
it's good. Well, it's the land's not being used.
That's right.
They're paying taxes on this land that's sitting there until something happens. That's another topic, by the way.
Right.
The tank farm, Winthrop, NIR, and the electric company. Once that leaves, you're going to see the cash register is just going to fly open down there, and things are going to get fixed with private money, but because it's essentially capped by what's there, and it's going to be great.
Right, but in terms of the short term, I was thinking.
No, that's right.
But if you look, because we've looked at the numbers pretty closely, that lot, or Bruce Miller did last year, and that lot, shared lot, those guys, they were busiest on the real busy weekends, and a lot of the other times they're not really being utilized very well.
Right.
And so the question, so part of this is it's philosophical and how do you do it? But if you want people to use a less convenient parking lot or less convenient parking garage, then you need to actually charge for the on-street parking. You've got to you can't give the on-street free and then make people walk 3 blocks to go to pay to go into a garage. They're always going to fill the street first. And so from a business perspective, for the business owners, they want turnover. You want to have 20% of those spaces opened at all times. So you have to do demand management and charge enough on street that the people will park. If someone's coming down for 8 hours, they shouldn't be rolling their car all day, leaving the business and rolling their car. They should be going into the lot, into the parking garage, paying very little, and on street should be charged and turnover. And so those are the types of philosophical issues that we need to get our head around. People have been sort of too self-centered, I would say, in the last 20 years of they don't want to change it because, hey, I know where I can park and I don't get ticketed, and I know that I need my car next to my desk. If it was up to my employees, they'd park right in front, they'd fill my whole parking lot, they'd park right in front of the door, and I'd be out of business, on Cliff Road. But that's what's happening downtown a lot of days. And so that, we have to get our heads around accepting some of this.
What about, we've talked, and actually it's more than an experiment now going on with the Wave and the parking
just
for
gonna bring
trucks
that
and
up.
so forth.
Yeah.
But what about the west side of town? There's nothing on the west side of town for sort of park and ride or there's, so in order to get to those places, you have to run the gauntlet of the traffic in order to.
Okay.
Is there anything in the works for that?
You mean Jetty's bike parking to get the other
Well,
side?
I
Are you
mean-
talking about the Quaker Road snafu?
Well,
I'm talking
Which thing are you talking about when you say west side?
from Matticat, anywhere on the west of town.
well,
Yeah, go ahead,
okay.
Leslie.
Let's see.
I have
so
my answer.
And I've got mine. I'll go third.
starting the
Turn your lot.
And they'll all
starting
be
the-
different.
Right.
the park and ride lot with the wave at the 2 Fairgrounds site
Right.
was kind of controversial, and we
Yeah.
barely got the funding to do that for the first year, and it was
It was
very
private. It
successful.
was private funding, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was a lot of private funding. Last year was the first year; it was very successful. This year, it's very successful. It's gotten a lot of the contractor vehicles out of the downtown from taking up spaces at night. I see lots of regular passenger cars in there too. It's full all the time.
You mean 2 Fairgrounds?
2 Fairgrounds.
Yes.
It's
Just
more,
so everybody
it's more
knows what
full
you're
than
talking
last
about.
year. Is it
Yeah, I
double,
think
you think?
so.
I was
I mean-
counting numbers because I
a
was
lot.
living there last summer. But
I
yeah.
haven't seen the numbers. I just see the cars in the parking lot.
Yeah, I
and it
counted
looks
them
full.
last year.
It
I
is
haven't
full.
counted them this year.
And I think that's a huge success, and we can use that as a model to start talking about doing that in other places, but we're just not there yet.
Nat, what do you want to add to that?
I think that what Leslie just mentioned, I was actually going to bring up the shuttle. Shuttle doesn't get one. We have this thing in Nantucket where we sort of like when something works after it's done, we kind of forget about it. That shuttle is something that's going to go on forever. I don't know how it's going to get paid for in the future. I think we're going to be able to charge for it because it's going to become normal. Okay, if we charge I'm just throwing a number, $2 to park or $5 to park, people are going to use it still because now they know how to do it. You can't charge for things here right out of the gate because it's a change. To go back to Matt's downtown parking paid thing, I want to just throw something in real quick. When Wendy Schmidt got here, when she first got here, the whole Remain thing just got off the ground. There was a huge meeting at Zero Main Street. I was there, big table, all kinds of nice hors d'oeuvres. And they wanted to do this buzzer parking thing like you get when you go to a restaurant, you sit outside and the thing's in your pocket. And I remember saying, this is never going to happen on Nantucket. And there was a deafening silence. There is a sort of, you have to be from here and live here a long time. Matt and I get along very well. We may not agree, but we know what isn't going to happen here. There's some sort of bell that goes off and you say, this isn't going to happen here. There's just a list, and I don't know how to even tell you how it happens. We need to come up, if we do paid parking, it has to be something unique to Nantucket. It can't be a meter. We don't need any more things planted in the sidewalk, taking up space that people can't walk, wheelchairs. We already have those problems, okay? To go back to what you said about the west side of Nantucket. The west side of Nantucket's our problem. We created it. There is never going to be a paved Millbrook Road. It's not going to happen. Trust me, it is not going to happen. So we have to live with Quaker and Prospect. We have to live with it. And it's part of our sort of, nostalgic decisions we've made. There's not going to be pavement on Millbrook. So that's it.
But you've got it depends how we fix Wind Street, whether
No, that's true.
Whether
But I'm talking about
Vestal could be part of the bike route. I think I'll answer the west.
I'm just talking
I'll
about the
talk
traffic, Pat.
when you look at the traffic numbers that we had generated 20 years ago from the comprehensive plan, and we had those guys down. What's happening now is what was predicted by then. This side of town, when friends of mine come and are looking to buy a house, I always advise them to try to be up in this area. There's 3 or 4 ways to get into town. The numbers that were predicted back then, based on the zoning out there, were favorable. It wasn't ever going to be too bad. The other side of town, on the other hand, at that point, was predicted to be like it's turned into, and it's going to become worse as we build out some of those other properties. No matter how many roundabouts we place, they're going, and I agree with them now, Nat, but they're going into small collector roads into town. It braces paradox. You can you can make it bigger here, but you're not going to make it faster because you're small there.
Right.
So I think, we have to just we put our heads around. I don't think we have to do a lot out on the west side myself.
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
either.
there's a couple connections we have to do. Maybe there's a way to utilize the jetties lot for in the peak seasons, and there's some things we could probably do. Maybe we could run that bus a little later and take workers in and out, and take them in and out from that lot.
It's not
when the beach
so
is
much
done.
a question. The traffic starts when you get into town.
Exactly.
But for example, the other day, my wife and I had to go off island. We were talking about what are we going to do with our car. We're coming back with 3 extra people.
Yeah.
And we talked about going to the Wave parking lot
Yeah.
to Fairgrounds, but it would take us an extra half hour, 40 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
And there's a trade-off there at
Well,
some point.